What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Coop's House. Hey, Hunter.
Hey.
Hunter doesn't feel good. Anyway, in proper Coop's House fashion, as usual, we are behind the 8 ball again, and it is our last day to do anything for this video. Seems like it's been one thing right after another that has just kept us from doing anything productive. So, we're going to work on the square body today. We're going to be cutting out a little bit of rust, putting in a little bit of metal, and getting this thing ready to start body work. So hopefully we get to put a little body filler on today, but, you know, who knows? Typically we make those promises and it doesn't happen. Right, Hunter?
Right.
Sure. So, anyway, we have like 3 hours today. So, no time to waste. Let's get it. Okay, so the stud welder did the trick for pulling out the part that was actually bent in whenever this occurred, but it didn't draw this any closer. I'm actually looking now, and there are actually 2 little flaps of metal that are pushed down inside that hole. So I'm going to take a look and see if I can figure out how exactly to get something in there to try to pry those out. I don't believe there's a way that I can go in from the inside. There might be. I'm going to try it, see what I can do, maybe put a pry bar in there, see if I can push it back. If so, then I'll go ahead and grind that down to bare metal as well, and then I'm going to weld this hole up, grind it down smooth, do body work over it, and this part is fixed. So we're going to take a minute, see if we can get inside there and get this pushed out, get it fixed. I hope so. Maybe. Alright, so I actually was able to manage to somehow get this kind of close. You guys can probably see in the camera where I pulled those studs off. I welded them a little too long and they pulled little pieces of metal. That's not a big deal. I'll put a little spot weld there. So I got this close enough where I can weld it. So I'm going to bring my welder over. We're going to do a weld right across there, weld these up, and then we're going to be done right here until we come back, grind the welds down, get ready to do the body work. So yeah, that went a little easier than I thought it would. It's not perfect, but we're not gonna have a whole ton of body filler right here, so that's great. That's what I was trying to avoid. So gonna get this welded up, and then while I'm here, probably gonna go ahead and weld up these holes where these badges were. So go ahead and get all of that knocked out, and we're gonna work our way forward. We really don't have any metal work to do on the driver's side, very little on the lower rocker. So we're going to work on this passenger side, kind of work our way up and around. So get this welded up, and then we'll move on to the next spot. So here we go. Alright, so as I've said in previous videos, well, on the Chevelle video, because I've not done any welding on body panels on here, but on the Chevelle video, you don't really want to have super high heat. You don't want to build up too much heat here because you'll end up warping the panel. I may have got it just a little too hot right through here, but this was already sunk in pretty bad. So, you know, I pulled it out as much as I could, but it didn't come out flat. So, didn't really matter right here, but in these, I tried to keep it as cool as I could keep it so that I didn't warp the metal too bad, and I didn't get it down too bad. So what we're gonna do after we get finished with all of our metal replacement, come back, we'll grind all these welds down, knock those down, and then we'll do a quick skim coat over this, and I think that's gonna get this really close. So we're done right here. I'm gonna go next. I'm gonna go ahead and just weld up these holes where these badges were, since we're here, and then we're gonna work our way forward. So anyway, we're gonna keep moving, and here in just a minute, we're gonna have to build a couple of patches. So keep rolling. Show you all this real quick. I showed you on the last video after we finished cleaning the cab. Got a little rust right here. It's all the way through, top and bottom. So I'm gonna have to create a patch on the bottom as well. So something I'm gonna have to do. Have to build this lip right here. So I'm gonna take a grinding disc, well, flat disc, and I'm gonna hit this whole top part right here and see where it goes. And hopefully it doesn't go too far, and then I'll go ahead and I'll build this top piece, and then after I replace the top piece, I'll go on the bottom side and replace the bottom, and then we'll work our way up here. So anyway, that's when the fun begins. Not looking forward to this, but we'll get it done. Here we go. Show you guys kind of where we are. So there is the inner rocker. This is the part that said I was gonna have to get under the truck to patch. So it still stands, still gonna have to get under it and patch it. I'm just gonna bend a piece to fit in here. I'm gonna cut all this out, it's rotten. Bend a piece, put it in there, weld it in. But you see the upper part, we've got it all cleaned out. We've got the patch right here. I haven't actually put it in there yet, but you see that it fits fairly decently. We've got our lips on the back. I'm trying to hold the camera and hold the piece at one time, so it's not really working out great. But you guys see kind of what we have there. So I'm going to clean all this up with a wire wheel, make sure it's good and clean, and then take the grinder to this, clean that up, and we'll spray it with some weld through primer because we do want to protect that. And then we'll take our patch and put back in there, and then hold it in place with magnets, put a couple of tacks in it, get it tacked in. And I am going to drill some spot welds where the factory spot welds were. We're going to spot weld that in. This will all be welded solid, ground down, body work over the top. So anyway, moving along, not bad. So going to get this cleaned up and get our new piece tacked in. So actually I forgot that I need to address this little hole here. Yeah, you see through, right through. It's surrounded by good metal, so I'm not going to like cut a patch to go there. I'm just going to take my welder, weld this up, and then grind it down smooth, and that's how we're going to fix that one. So before I do anything else, I'm going to weld that up, and then we'll grind it down. got this hit with a weld through primer. This is a galvanized primer. This is basically just to keep everything protected from moisture and stuff where this metal laps over the other piece of metal. So while we wait for that to dry, if I can find my piece right here. So the fit isn't as perfect as I would like to it to have been, or like for it to have been, sorry. It fits pretty good on the back end, and I may be able to add in a little bit of a bend once I get that kind of welded in, but it wasn't a 90, like a sharp bend. It's actually kind of rounded right there in the corner. I didn't have a way of doing that, so my little brake actually bent it with a sharp bend, so it's just going to be what it's going to be. This isn't really that important. This is just where that weather strip laps over and just kind of hooks. So it'll be fine, but I'm going to tack that back side and then try to work my way to the other end and hopefully get it to match as good as possible. But what really matters is that this out here matches, so that's going to be just fine. So we're going to let this dry. I'm probably going to spray the back side of this with weld through primer as well. Go ahead and protect that. I got to go round up my shop vac, going to come back, and there's a little bit of rust in here where the stuff rusted out, so I'm going to vacuum that out, get rid of that as well. And then give this a few minutes to dry, and once we get back, we'll go ahead and tack this in place and see what we've got. So hopefully everything turns out cool, but yeah, guess we'll be back in a few minutes. Alright, so we got our piece welded in on top. I still have the bottom side to replace, because remember there's that hole down there. So that's the next piece I'm going to replace. First, I'm going to take a lunch break because it's getting about lunchtime and I haven't eaten yet. So I'm going to call it right here, right now, and then we'll come back out and get that done. And then I'm going to work on the kick panel. During one of the breaks in the video, I went and looked at the firewall, and I think that for the biggest portion of the spot over here behind the heater box, I think I'm going to go to the junkyard and try to find a truck that is solid in that spot and cut that whole portion out, because there are a lot of bends there and things like that. And if I can do that, I'll just bring it back, just fit it in, and then weld it in where it's supposed to be. So probably not going to do anything with that right now. Maybe make a trip to the junkyard in the morning and see what I can find. So we're going to do this, kick panel, and maybe go ahead and patch the outer rockers where we need to patch those. I think there's one over here, one on the other side. But anyway, lunch break. Well, we'll be back in a few. Went to lunch, had a sandwich, contemplated some things, decided that I am not going to patch the bottom while it's on the frame. I'm going to wait until we take the cab off the frame and I can stand it on end, and then I can patch the bottom that way, because nobody likes to weld over the top of their head. I know I don't. It's not fun. Things catch fire, it burns, it hurts, I don't like it. So we're not going to tackle that today. So next thing I'm going to do is move up here to this kick panel inside. We're going to make the piece. We're going to make this little piece to go here and all that good stuff. So yeah. Also, I think I mentioned it before, but I've decided I'm not going to mess with that firewall. Can't do it while it's sitting on the frame anyway. So we're going to go ahead and tackle these problem areas. May go ahead and stick a couple patches in the side of the rocker panels. And yeah, that's probably going to be it for this episode this week. So yeah, we're going to get to work adding in a couple more little pieces and keep rolling. So here we go. made. It's not pretty or anything, but we may be forced to call it early because I just had the water separator on my air compressor blow apart, and so now I don't have air. So I'm gonna have to figure out what I'm gonna do about that, whether I can fix it today or if I'm gonna have to wait for some parts tomorrow. So now I'm gonna take some time to try to figure that out, because I'm not able to get in here and make these small cuts with the big grinder. I've got to use my little die grinder. So that being said, this may be, unfortunately, the end of the road for today. And if so, that's gonna put us a little bit behind being able to start body work. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but I guess it is what it is. So I'm gonna step away for a few minutes and see if I can figure out what I'm gonna do next and go from there. I'll let you guys know something in a minute. Alright guys, so with my water separator blowing apart, I'm out of commission for now. Rode into town, nobody in town has anything in stock for me to be able to fix this. So that being said, I'm not going to have the part until tomorrow. And so that being said, I'm going to have to call it a day. I will put in a little bit of time in this thing in the morning to try to finish up this phase anyway, you know, the metal replacement and some of the rust areas. So that way, you know, we haven't wasted a whole bunch of time, you know. Anyway, we'll be far to the point where we can start with body filler and things like that, trying to get it ready for primer. But anyway, so we basically have the front of the top of the rocker, the kick panel, and then basically the undersides of the rocker panels that we have to fix still, but we have to have our die grinder for that, and we have to have air to use the die grinder. So yeah, I guess that's going to be something we have to tackle in the morning, unfortunately. So anyway, gonna call it a day today, get my air compressor fixed in the morning, and then we'll get on this for a little while, put in a little more time, and get this much knocked out. So yeah, anyway, see you guys in the morning. so you guys may have noticed by now, we said this thing a little bit back about this is pretty much rust-free and there's no rust in it, all this stuff, but we are learning that that phrase, it gets worse, the longer you look at it, is actually like legit, because the longer we look, the more rust we find. When we find it, we have to fix it, so it sucks, but it is what it is. Yeah. Alright guys, so that's going to wrap it up for another episode of Coop's House this week on the Squarebody. So, yes, slap it again. One more time. So, I know this hasn't been a super exciting episode, but the stuff that we're working on right now is just extremely time consuming, tedious, and overall annoying. Yes, it's just awful. So, once we get past all of the suck that we're working on right now, we'll get back to some of the fun stuff, like actually doing body work.
I don't know if that's fun, but
It's a lot more fun than replacing metal. So,
I'm tired of welding.
yes, me too. And grinding, and cutting, and building, and anyway. So, when we come back, we're going to actually be working on the driver's side. We kind of spent this week working on the passenger side, trying to get that knocked out. But we replaced pretty much everything on that side, minus what we have to replace on the outer rocker. So, we made some progress. It wasn't fun, but we made some progress. So, anyway. We appreciate you guys tuning in and hanging out with us. Make sure you like our video, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notifications so you know when we post. Because without you guys, nobody else is going to see these videos.
Yes.
Your interaction is what gets us out there. So, we appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next week. Deuces.